Riot Games sucks at making skins. They've completely lost their mojo and it's going off the rails. And the only reason why I care is as a challenger player, I want League to exist and thrive for a very long time. And if Riot starts failing at the business model and losing money, they're going to shut down the servers. So with that being said, what I want to do is I want to take a look at the last couple of patches and see what kind of skins they're releasing and whether we think that those fit expectations with what we would know to be very good skin ideas or have a broad appeal that are going to sell a lot of skins. And then we're also going to look at the most expensive skins that they've released in League's history, especially since all of those skins are very recent, and ask ourselves whether there's anything that justifies the price tag that they're putting on these skins nowadays. So let's get into it. So number one, when we go through the last couple of patches, what we're noticing when we're looking at these skins and these patches is that they all look the same. There's no unique skins in here or anything like that. They're almost all following a skin line. And a skin line is this concept that Riot's come up with, which is instead of releasing 6 completely different unique skins that all had their own unique idea go into them that fit really well thematically with a certain champion, instead we're just going to release 6 of the same skins and we'll just put it on 6 different champions. The problem with this concept is, well, it may make it easier to pump out more skins and might be fine in addition to a bunch of individual skins. It's not great if it's the only thing that you do. Because in my estimation, if we think about why people want to buy a skin, let's ask ourselves, like, what causes people to buy skins? If you go and buy a skin, you probably bought a skin like Hillbilly Gragas or Gentleman Cho'Gath because it was funny. You probably bought a skin like Mecha Kha'Zix or something like that because it was just cool and fit thematically with the champion kind of well. Or in my case, you bought a skin like Santa Braum because it was kind of both a funny niche skin, also fit really well with the holiday season and stuff like that, and thematically fit really well with the champion like Braum because Braum already had a big white mustache, very similar kind of thing going on to Santa Claus, and he's from the snowy north in the Freljord. So this skin just fits really well for Braum. Another reason why you might buy skins is because it's got great new animations that just feel really good to use. And another reason why you might buy a skin is that as a young guy who plays League, sex sells. And we all know this to be true. I've said this a million times, whether people want to admit it or not. League is mostly played by young men. And the reality is that especially among young men, sex sells. So that's the way that it is, right? And when we look at a skin line, like for example, this Chosen of the Wolf, it just doesn't make any sense. What do half of these champions have to do with wolves? Sure, that makes a lot of sense for Kindred because that champion has a wolf, but it doesn't really make any sense for Swain, who has to do with birds, or Pantheon, who's got a spear and has nothing to do with animals, or Ambessa, or any of these champions whatsoever. As far as sex appeal goes, I guess we're doing pretty decently with Katarina. If you swing for the other team, if you're batting for the other team, Swain could be good. You have options there with Swain, but again, for the majority of the player base, the Swain is not doing it for us. Okay, so we got that. And then here's my question. If you want an uplifting, happy skin, a colorful skin or something like that, what have they given you on this patch? Absolutely nothing. So you've got this red and black theme for the entire patch because that's what they've released. Okay, next patch. Arcane Season 2 was coming out, and so all they released this entire patch was Arcane skins. Well, what if you don't really care about Arcane? Or what if your champion's not in Arcane? The only skins that you have options for apparently are Arcane this patch. What about the next patch? Also very similar color scheme because it's all based on the same theme. Again, every single skin is an Arcane skin for 2 patches in a row. Each patch lasts 2 weeks, so for an entire 2-week or 4-week period of time, the only skins that you could get were these Arcane skins. Now, at least these Arcane skins that focus on these individual champions deliver a little bit because you get like the Arcane Victor skin, I think is a very different color theme, for example, compared to this Warwick skin. So I think they did an okay job with this. However, I will say when you look at a champion like Heimerdinger here, this Arcane Professor Heimerdinger or this Arcane Last Stand Echo, these look very, very similar to the base art of the champion, and that's not a good direction to go with any skin because Riot's gotten in a lot of hot water in the past when their skins are just too similar to the base champion. We'll be talking about Arcane Fractured Jinx later, but this skin also costs $250, but we'll get into that later. Then this one's going to knock your socks off. This is the first patch of Season 15. In fact, the patch where the most people are returning to the game to play and the biggest opportunity you have to sell skins the entire year. It's the most popular patch of the year when everyone makes their once-a-year annual return to see if League of Legends has finally gotten better again. And what do you deliver? You deliver 2 dumpling skins. 2 Chinese-themed skins, black and red theme again, and you just put 2 skins out. It blows my mind that you could ever have a full team of people, probably, I don't know exactly how many employees, but, you probably have at least 10 plus people working at Riot just to develop skins. Probably way more than that. Probably each getting paid $100,000 a year each or more. And we're putting out 2 skins on the biggest patch of the year. For 2 weeks, you're releasing an average of 1 skin a week. Absolutely unbelievable. Okay, then you get to the next patch. The 3 Honors Shen skin, which stands out as being kind of unique, was given away for free if you were Honor level 5, so this makes them no money. And Arcane Counselor Mel is kind of interesting and a unique one here that stands out because it's not part of a skin line. However, we just followed it up after, 2 straight patches of nothing but Arcane? Oh no, we had the dumplings in the middle. Okay, sorry. 4 weeks of Arcane, 2 dumpling skins, another Arcane skin. However, this one really gets me because the only reason why this one's even here is because Mel was released as a champion and they have to release the champion with the skin. And even worse than that, this should have been what Mel looks like by default. This is what Mel looks like in the show. The way that Mel looks like with her red cape and stuff like that is not recognizable at all as the character from Arcane. So when that's the way that people were introduced to the character, it makes way more sense to make a skin, maybe not with as much sex appeal as this, but a skin basically like this should have actually been the default Mel skin. What they did here is a tactic I've never seen them use before, which is they made the champion unrecognizable compared to the show so that you have to buy the Arcane Mel skin in order to get the champion to look like the champion it's supposed to be. So what they just did is they made the default skin not make any sense so that you, like if you want to play Mel and you want it to be like the show, you have to buy the Arcane Mel skin, which is just mind-boggling that they would do that. Then we end up with Mythmaker Jin, Mythmaker Nami, Mythmaker Jarvan, and Prestige Mythmaker Cassiopeia. So these are all the same skin line. Now the Cassiopeia skin looks different, but it's going to be more expensive because it's Prestige, or you're going to have to gamble to get it or something like that using the you would need to get Mythic Essence in order to get this one. So this has got an insane price point and stuff like that as well. And I'm not 100% sure on this one, but I assume if this is a prestige skin that Mythmaker Cassiopeia was either being released alongside this or already exist. And so if that's the case, this is more like a chroma, although prestige skins are very good chromas. This is more like a chroma than it even is a regular skin. So another very disappointing one. And again, another one where there's not a single funny skin. And unless you find this red and black, I guess there's a little bit of white in here, but unless you find this red and black theme really wonderful, you're getting the same type of thing over and over and over again. I'd also like to point out, and it makes sense because there's a lot of Chinese players playing League, but these 2 skins are both Chinese theme. The whole Mythmakers line is Chinese theme. You can see that obviously here. And then on the next patch, the Radiant Serpent set is also Chinese theme with Chinese New Year. So there's just an overwhelming number of Chinese themed skins in recent years, which again could make sense. We do want Riot to make some money so that they can keep the servers on. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea to appeal to certain cultures, like making skins that appeal to Chinese culture or to Korean culture or anything like that. And there's obviously way more players playing in China than there are playing in NA or playing in NA and EU. But obviously when you make certain skins like that, they're not necessarily going to appeal to Western audiences as well as they are to the East. And there's no problem with that. There shouldn't be any conflict because they should just be releasing skins that appeal to both at the same time. It's when you fill an entire patch of 2 weeks up with nothing but the same skin releases that are all targeted at the same audience, and you target nothing at the NA and the EU audience for multiple patches in a row, that it seems kind of strange. And again, we get back to the skin line again, where we have these masks of the Black Rose skins or whatever, and you get that same black and red theme going on again. All seems like They're just failing to release individual skins for individual champions that fit super well thematically for those champions. The thing is that when you release a skin, or when you come up with a skin in general, you're going to be able to come up with way better ideas if that skin just has to fit one champion's theme really well and appeals to that type of champion's player base. What you have to understand is the type of person that plays Samira is nothing like the type of person that plays, I don't know, Vladimir or Renata. They're just different players, and so they're not necessarily going to like the same skins. And different champions aren't necessarily, even when you do your best to pick the 5 that fit with the thematic the most, certain skins just aren't going to fit that well. So when you think of skins like Pajama Guardian Ezreal, you just have to wonder, like, were they just reaching for a male champion to put into the Pajama Guardian line, and so they happened to pick Ezreal, and that's why it went in there? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Or even like Cafe Cutie Zamumu. It's okay. He is a cute, small champion. He's a Yordle. Maybe he somewhat fits in the theme line. And these are probably not even the worst examples. These are just things I'm pulling out of my head. It just seems like they're just kind of reaching for champions to put in these thematics sometimes because they have to find something to put in this line. And they're reaching for broad appeal here, and it just doesn't make sense. They'd be so much better off releasing individual skins. Now, if they want to do skin lines like these, which can be cool together, but do these in addition to a bunch of individual skins for champions, that's great, but they're just not doing that. One of the reasons why I'm harping on these skin lines so much too is because Riot actually released a dev blog, I think within the last year or two, talking about how they really wanted to return to making individual skins and to not keep releasing these skin lines where all of the skins are the same and they're not able to do as good of a job of reaching and fulfilling the fantasies for certain champion mains and certain champions that they can't do when they're trying to do 6 skins at once. But they haven't done that at all in any of the last 6 patches, so it seems like they're just not doing what they're trying to do. It also amazes me, again, the low quantity of skins that they're releasing. So we've got 7, 6, 2, 5, and 6 skins. And this is every 2 weeks. So we're looking at, I think, 6 patches here. So they release over the course of 6 patches, which is 12 weeks, like 4 months or something like that. They probably released an average of 6 skins, a patch. So they're looking at something like a little bit worse than 1 skin every 2 days or 1 skin every 3 days. And again, I just don't understand how you can have a full team of people making skins, getting paid a ton of money to do this. Probably, probably at least 10 people working on these. I don't understand how you can have a team like that and then be producing, 1 skin every 3 days. It boggles my mind that they could be doing that. And this is, again, Riot's only way of making money off of League. So if there's any department you're going to prioritize from a business standpoint, you need to be prioritizing the art department, because if you don't have enough people there, or, they have cut people across the board in the company, including from the skin department, like, you're cutting the only department that actually makes you money. All of the other things are very important. Again, I care about balance and I care about esports and other things probably way more than I do about the skins. Again, I'm making this because people were pointing out that I really should be talking about, in the revenue conversation, them not doing a good job of producing good skins. And I think people were spot on with that. And I want the game to live for a long time and thrive. So how are you going to cut the art department and the skin department when this is the only department that makes you money? So if you have to remove somebody, the last place you turn to is removing the one department that's making you money. It just doesn't make any sense. It boggles the mind. Okay, so then the other thing that we have to keep in mind is, now that we've gone through some of the recent releases and we can see that they're too heavily focused on skin lines, they're not giving us a variety of color schemes, they're not giving us any funny skins, they're not giving us almost any individualized champion skins, and most of the ones that they are either given away for free, like the 3 Honor Shen, or are super expensive, like Radiant Set or Arcane Fractured Jinx, which we'll get into. So when it comes to League skins, there's different tiers of League skins. And the most expensive League skin, aside from having to buy some account with some super old rare League skin, because there's no tradability, is the Immortal Ari skin. So let's take a look at the Immortal Ari skin. So the Immortal Ari skin was $430, and this is what the skin looks like. Now, of course, these super expensive skins are going to come with their own very unique animations and features that are very different than anything that you get with any other skin. But do those unique animations and elements justify the $430 price point for the Immortalized Ari skin, or for the second most expensive skins, which are called Exalted skins, which are recent, which include the Set skin, Radiant Set, that's currently released. We've seen both of these in these patches, Radiant Set and the Arcane Fractured Jinx. Those ones are $250 each. So yes, they have some unique animations and things to them, but the question we're going to be asking is, do they justify a $430 price point and a $250 price point? I think when it comes to rare collectibles and trying to figure out how valuable a skin in a game should be, one of the most important elements is rarity and tradability. And so when you see super expensive cards in trading card games or super expensive CSGO skins, a lot of the reason for that is because there's a huge rarity element to it, where a million people can buy a pack of Pokemon cards, but only one of them is going to get that super rare card, that's only got 1,000 of them in the world. And especially as time goes by, it's going to become more and more rare. The same just doesn't exist with League, because there's a limited number of those cards that are produced in the world ever, whereas in League, as many people who want to buy the skin can buy the skin. And so even if they make it exclusive for a limited amount of time, yes, there will be a final number that we were going to get to in terms of how many are out there. But in theory, if everyone went and bought one, it could be the most popular skin in the game that everybody owns. And so there's no guarantee of rarity whatsoever ever with a League skin. And a lot of times, because they want to just sell and make the most money, they actually want to sell to more people, obviously. You're going to make the most money if you sell a lot at a high price point. And so Riot doesn't really care that much about limiting skins or limiting the exclusivity or anything like that. And because the patch is live for 2 weeks, the most limited thing they could probably do anyways would be to limit purchase for 2 weeks. And I don't know that they've actually ever done that, limiting a purchase to only 2 weeks long. And so there's just not a lot of rarity. When you think about actually what are considered the most rare and expensive League skins, aside from these ones that you could buy, it's ones that actually had rarity, like PAX Twisted Fate or PAX Sivir, that you had to be at that event many, many years ago. And so very few accounts, especially nowadays, still exist with those skins on it. And so they're very, very valuable. So it's supply and demand. It's the limited supply and the rarity that creates the super high value that you see with certain CSGO skins or with trading cards and things like that. And that just doesn't exist in League. And unless Riot is willing to compromise and change the way that they do things with skins, that's never going to exist. Another element that exists is tradability. You can go and you can sell those CSGO skins. It's a little bit sketchy, but you can even go and sell them for real money instead of just Steam credit. And you can even go and, obviously trade card games and other rare collectibles and things like that. You can go and sell that stuff. So it has tradability. League skins don't have any tradability whatsoever because they're locked to an account permanently. And also, if your account gets banned, you can actually just end up losing all of the money that you spent on the skins and the skin in its entirety. So without tradability and without much rarity, there's not really a reason to justify such a high price point for these skins. Really, these high price points solely exist to milk whales who have a ton of disposable income and are willing to spend just an absurd amount of money on it regardless, because they love League or they really like the skin and they want it. When it comes to the actual skin itself, I think Ari was a good choice. It's a very popular champion. It's, good face of League champion. I wouldn't say that the sex appeal is necessarily there, unless you like foxes, and, God forbid that's the case. But, for most reasonable, normal human beings, there's not much sex appeal here on Ari, but it's a very popular champion. It's also meant to be a skin to kind of honor fakers, so it's not necessarily supposed to be a super sexy skin or anything like that, but it's doing fine. The big issue with this one is that thematically, Faker is not a player who uses skins ever. And so that's just kind of unfortunate for Riot that their superstar, player, the best professional player to ever play, just doesn't like using skins. But obviously that undermines why you might want it as much when the player who it's supposed to be celebrating and honoring doesn't actually want to use it unless he's forced to promote it. So the theme is already kind of, on shaky ground to begin with because of that. And again, the price point, where are you justifying the price point when that's the case, with these other skins, that there's no tradability, there's no rarity or anything like that to the skin. Then we get to these new exalted skins, like Radiant Set. So when we look at Radiant Set, I compared it to my favorite skin in Santa Braum because these not the same skin. I mean, they literally have the same style, abs, even the color schemes are a bit similar. They're both celebrating different holidays, with Braum, Santa Braum celebrating Christmas, and Radiant Serpent Set celebrating New Year's, especially Chinese New Year's. So I'm trying to figure out where is the difference between these two skins. And you can go and you can look at the skin spotlight and you'll notice, what all of the features are that are very important to these Radiant skins to try to justify their price point. And the main difference, I would say, between this $250 skin and this $10 Braum skin, by the way, the main difference is that with Radiant Set, you can change forms. So there's this golden form, and there's this blue form, and then there's this regular form here. However, that immediately reminded me of DJ Sona, because DJ Sona can switch between 3 different forms and change her color, and she was an ultimate skin for $25. And she was released many, many, many years ago, and so was providing a much elevated, higher value for the quality of skin that you were getting compared to what you would get with a skin like Radiant Set nowadays at 10 times the price. So it doesn't really make sense that you would just take what you were giving to a champion like DJ Sona, slap it on Set, and then multiply the price by 10. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me for those reasons. So I think it's very comparable to things like Santa Braum, or especially DJ Sona, because you can change the skins. And again, Santa Braum was $13.50 RP, which is only $10, and the Sona skin and all the other ultimate skins were only $25. So then you've got Arcane Fractured Jinx. And all I'll say about Arcane Fractured Jinx here as well is that she also has 3 forms, which is again comparable to something like DJ Sona. Just like Set, she has some slightly pumped up animations and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. She has a nice animation running out of base where she's riding on a rocket out of base, which happens to be very similar actually to Santa Braum riding on a sleigh out of base, but maybe Santa Braum was just too much value for the money and it's unfair to compare them. But even if they're comparable and Braum happened to be too much value, Riot gave away too much value for the money and they made a really nice skin for a cheap price point, still then bump up the Jinx skin and the Set skin to $25 or even $50, but $250, and we're going absolutely insane. So similar to Radiant Set, Arcane Jinx can switch between these 3 different forms, as you can see in some of these pictures here. But, I just can't help but compare the Arcane Fractured Jinx skin at $250 to the regular Jinx skin, just the base default Jinx. And I think when you're paying $250 for a skin, you shouldn't even be able to compare the base, skin for the champion to the skin and say, what is really the difference? Like, there's nothing funny about the skin, obviously, but that's fine. It's not meant to necessarily be a funny skin. Obviously, the most expensive skins are probably going to have a level of seriousness to them. I think funny skins are meant to be kind of cheaper gag skins and stuff like that. But let's say you're looking at the default Jinx skin, and what is the difference here? Color scheme is very similar. Maybe this one's a little bit brighter. Thematically, they're exactly the same. Maybe you can argue, because they put the word Arcane in here, that it's a little bit more in the style of Arcane than the base Jinx skin. And again, this one's free, right? This is just what Jinx looks like by default. and this one is $250. So again, when you get into the animations and stuff like that, yes, you can change into 3 different forms and stuff like that. But again, that's the same thing you get with DJ Sona for $25. So should it have been 10 times as expensive? I don't know. The animations in game, like I said, you get the, riding out of base on the rocket animation, which I think is pretty cool, but certainly doesn't justify 10 times the price. And then you have to wonder why Set didn't get an animation like that. Set and this Fractured Jinx skin both have a pretty decent kind of recall animation, but it's nothing special. We can take a look at it here. This is, what the recall looks like. She just kind of hops on her rocket. There's a little bit of purple smoke. She throws up a flare, and she's back in base. We can look at, Radiant Set. Here's Radiant Set. Let's take a look at his recall animation. Again, you just pretty much have the basic classic blue ring. There's a little bit of black and red smoke going up, and he, throws some confetti up in the air and the little red, Chinese New Year's cards, and that's pretty much it. So I really just don't think that there's a whole lot going on for these skins to justify the price point. And yes, they have some stuff going on. Set's got, I think the most notable thing is Set's got this interaction with his mom or something going on here, and he can change his color forms. You're going to find something similar with the Jinx one, right? She's going to be able to change into 3 different forms, and she has this, let's see, where is it? She has kind of a unique animation with her passive going on here. I think we see it right here, where when she's got her passive movement speed and attack speed going because she's killed somebody, she's got kind of unique animation for each different form here, where, she's getting a lot of animations and effects around the sides of the screen and stuff like that, and it's showing how many people from the enemy team she's eliminated here, based on how many passive stacks she has. So this is obviously something that's kind of unique, but I don't know that these are necessarily... They're unique, but do they justify 10 times the price of an ultimate skin? And that's where I think that, things kind of start to fall off, because just take other cosmetics in general. Like, icons and emotes are new, they're unique, and they're not something that we had before, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they should be more money than something else, because obviously people are going to care less about an icon or an emote than they're going to care about like a champion skin. So obviously they're going to have a lower price point because there's less demand for them. Or same thing with the skins. When it comes to a skin, what do we actually care the most about on a skin? It's stuff like the auto attack animation, the basic ability animations, I would say the recall animation, and the running out of fountain animation. These are like the main things, at least, maybe we're getting a little bit subjective here, but for me, those are the main things that stand out as important for a skin. And when you look at Radiant Set, and there's really no running out of base animation, and the recall animation is in line with what you would get with almost any other modern skin in League. Same thing with Jinx. I mean, she has a little bit better recall animation. She does have a good running out of base animation, so that's a little bit better. They do have these weird HUD things going on, but again, you add some new feature like this weird HUD thing that's going on here, where it's like covering your screen and stuff. And I don't know that even adds any value. For some players, this might actually take away value. I certainly wouldn't want a skin where this was showing up on my screen, but some people might really like this and think that it's cool because you don't get it with any other skin. So it really depends on the person. But I would say that just because you add something doesn't necessarily mean that you're adding value. In some cases, less is more. And I think that they should focus on enhancing those basic elements that people care the most about with the skin. The auto attack animation and the, we can see here. So this is what the Jinx skin looks like, and we can kind of let it play. Really, this is it reminds me a lot of something like Zombie Brand or something like that. Like, it turns her effects kind of like this green splash animation and that sort of thing, and a little bit of electricity and that sort of stuff. And I really feel like while it's good, it's not much more than you would expect to see with like a good modern skin, or maybe those $25 ultimate skins, but certainly not something justifying their own crazy unique price point at like $250. Now, if they want to milk the whales for all that they're worth to keep the game going and profitable, that's their prerogative. But I just don't see where the value is in justifying these kind of prices for these type of skins. And more importantly, I think that they should be making more regular skins that are just widely appealing and cool or funny skins again, or one-off skins for champions that fit really well thematically with that champion, but don't have to be a part of a big skin theme line. And it just seems like they set that out as their goal, and they're just failing to achieve that in general. I also don't think they're releasing enough skins in general. Let's take a look at the Radiant set, some more of the Radiant set. I just don't feel like they're achieving their goal with that in general. So I think that they need to be picking champions that are just way more popular, and they need to be making more skins that fit unique champions well, instead of whatever they're doing with all these skin lines. And they haven't adapted and changed that whatsoever, despite setting their goal that way. So when we look at these super expensive skins at $430 for the Ari skin, or $250 for this Set skin or this Jinx skin, so he's got kind of a cool red auto attack animation and stuff like that. And, his Q is going to do the same thing to animate his passive. So when he hits with that hard punch with his offhand, it's going to, show up in red. Here he's got his W, which is kind of cool because it's got multicolor. When he gets really low and is able to use it, with extra effect, it's going to throw that snake down the middle. So, it's got good effects and stuff like that. It's definitely a level maybe above your cheap basic skin, but is it even ultimate skin worthy at $25 compared to what we were getting from all the previous ultimate skins? We'll look at ultimate skins next, because there's not a ton of them, but I think it's a really, the value that you get from those ultimate skins is pretty good. And I really do think that these two skins fall very much in line with what you would expect out of an ultimate skin, rather than, justifying some insane price or anything like that. You're going to get these exact same animations with every form. It's just going to be, a different color. I guess his out of base animation is they're saying he's got this little trail of color or something like that. I really just don't think that does it compared to the other ones. So let's take a look at the ultimate skins in League. So we've got Pulsefire Ezreal, which released all the way back in 2012. And this was just ages ahead of its time because the animations were really good. It had its own unique recall animation and all of this stuff, which I think was maybe the first skin to do that. And this was all the way back in 2012. So it just held up to such a modern standard. And again, this was being, priced at $25. So you were getting, like, by far and away the only best skin in the game. A skin that stood completely alone as the best skin in the game for $25, for literally like only a little bit more than a regular skin. That's what you were getting with ultimate skins back in 2012 with Pulsefire Ezreal. Spirit Guard Udyr has the ability to change forms based on what ability he's using and stuff like that, again at $25. Very similar to what you see with DJ Sona, or even with these Jinx skins and Set skins where they're changing form. Again, $25, in a pretty good state for the time it was released in. Definitely think it wasn't a super popular champion to choose, whereas I think like Ari, very popular champion, good choice for an expensive skin. Jinx, obviously super popular. Ezreal's remained very popular for a long time. Udyr's popularity is just not there. Same thing with Set. I just feel like Udyr and Set were really weird choices. Obviously Udyr was done a long time ago, and there was probably more popularity to Udyr back then than there was now. But it wasn't huge back then either. I mean, Trick2G was playing it a lot. Maybe people following him were interested in it. I don't really know that it was that popular then either. DJ Sona, also not a super popular champion, but a good skin nonetheless. Elementalist Lux, great champion choice. Obviously, they seem to have gotten better at this. Obviously, you're not going to get a whole lot of sex appeal, again, with champions like Set or with Ezreal or with Udyr, but they're, have the potential to be kind of cool skins. You get there with Sona, you get there with Lux, you get there with Gun Goddess Misfortune. They even lowered the price for this one below $25. I mean, they figured it out. Like when they were releasing Elementalist Lux and Gun Goddess Misfortune, they had it all figured out. KDA All Out Seraphine at $25. I don't quite understand why Seraphine is ultimate skin at $25 and the other ones, like you have like KDA Kaisa as well as many others are not. But there are probably unique animations and things like that, or recall and stuff like that you get with KDA Seraphine that kind of had it stand out as its own thing. I don't really know a ton about this skin, but it seems like an okay choice. Seraphine, not a super popular champion. Samira, not a super popular champion. I think they did an okay job with this skin. For $25, probably fine. This was definitely a skin that had some new elements, and I think did a decent job for an ultimate skin. But obviously, I think even though this skin is pretty recent, had it been released in 2025, it probably would have been some crazy $250 skin. So I just don't understand where Riot's justifying the $250 and $430 price point on these skins compared to ultimate skins, or even compared to skins like the Santa Braum skin that's just like way cheaper than these other ones. And any of these other skins we're thinking about that are cheaper as well, like just any skin that stands out to you as having done a good job, like Zombie Brand or Mecha Kha'Zix and things like that. These skins are just good, and they don't even fall into the ultimate skin category. So you have to somehow one-up yourself as Riot and beat out the previous skins. So if you want a Braum player like me to buy a new Braum skin, you need to come up with a better skin than Santa Braum. And maybe they've kind of messed up and set too high of a standard for themselves or something, but obviously they shouldn't be sandbagging skins and making them terrible either, just so they can sell more later on at a higher price point. But like, you've got to make something good that fits the champion thematically. And again, to get back to the patch thing, when you're trying to force everything into this skin line where every color looks the same, all the thematics look the same, and there's just no unique elements to it whatsoever, I think you just kind of get lost and don't end up making good skins anymore. And so there's multiple problems going on here all over the place. The champions that they're choosing to make skins for, frankly, just aren't that popular and don't have that much sex appeal. The skins that they're making these skin lines instead of making good, unique skins for champions that fit well thematically with them. Everything is a skin line, and that also means that all of the colors are the same. And so if you wanted an uplifting happy skin, or you were a happy-go-lucky person, or you had a champion that's supposed to be a happy-go-lucky champion, you just get nothing for a while with skin lines like this and color schemes like this. All of the skins tend to look the same and blend together now, and half of these skins they're giving away for free, like the Black Rosalie skin they were giving away for free as part of the Battle Pass. The Honor Shen skin was given away for free, right? So some of these Arcane skins look too much like the base champion. I even think that the Arcane Fractured Jinx skin looks too much like the base champion. Maybe not in game, but at least the splash art and maybe part of it just looks very basic for a $250 skin, and it should never be anywhere comparable to the base skin for the champion. They're doing stuff like sandbagging what the base champion looks like with Mel for the first time so that they can sell you a skin that actually looks like the champion, which is weird. And then on top of that, they're selling these exorbitantly expensive skins despite them not having any rarity or exclusivity or tradability that justifies these skins and these other unique rare items being more expensive in other games. And so there's just nothing justifying the value of these skins. They throw in a couple of things like, Faker's signature on a destroyed turret or something like that, and try to say that that's worth $400 over an ultimate skin. And there's just no reason why that would be the case, because it's not based on supply and demand. You end up with these skins like the Set skin and the Jinx skin that are heavily based on DJ Sona's ability to transform into 3 different skins within the same game, yet they're costing $250 instead of $25, even though Sona was released many years ago, and so it was even ahead of its time. And so what you got out of DJ Sona back when DJ Sona was released is more than you would get out of Arcane Fractured Jinx or Radiant set now that those skins are released. And you see so many skins that are just like cheaper but seem to deliver some of the same results, and you wonder like why you would pay $250 for one of these more expensive skins. So I really hope that Riot follows the goals that they set in their dev blog and focus more on individual skins that fit really well thematically with those champions, as well as address all of these other issues so that they're either delivering skins that people feel like are actually worth $250, although that's going to be hard to do, or just producing, and I think this is the way to go, producing a lot more quantity of skins that are unique one-off skins that are funny or fit well thematically with the champion, that people who main those champions are just interested in picking up as a one-off. You know, people can't play all 5 of the Black Mask, you know, skins together. You can, I guess, if you're in normal games with a group of friends, but I don't know that, you know, people are rushing out to buy, you know, all 5 of these skins just so they can play them together, especially when it's not a super popular thematic like Mask of the Black Rose or whatever. So they don't need to be together. There's no reason for the Mask of the Black Rose Ezreal skin to be a part of a skin line, because you get the one skin and you're not doing anything or ever interacting with the other people who are using all the other ones. It just doesn't make any sense. But, you know, hopefully Riot fixes that, focuses on those issues, and gets their money up so that League can keep pushing on for years and years and decades to come. With that being said, good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day.